ESPN. It seems like they have really, in a way, got in their own way. Here are the numbers via Forbes of what exactly has gone on with ESPN. They've experienced failed ratings. I said it wrong again. Falling ratings. Subscriber numbers in recent years, 1.91 million, 11% drop, blah, 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 7% drop, blah, blah, blah. SportsCenter brought in 408 million from January to June 2016, 305 million during the same period in 2017. Moving forward, the last 6 years, well, their subs have dropped to about 13% according to Nielsen. Excuse me, really? The next one. So dropping to 13%. And then also 87.22 million from over 100 million. Could you just explain to me, and we could roll through, like, you know, what sort of options people have? There's Facebook Watch, there's Hulu, Thursday Night Football was on Twitter at one point. Now it's on Amazon. You got YouTube TV as well. What has happened to ESPN?
Okay, there's a lot going on, and ESPN is in a really tough position.
Okay.
They had been in the best position in all of cable because as people were finding other options to get information, or more specifically to watch shows, the one thing that cable providers thought was that ESPN was valuable because you can't like watch a game later. You want to watch it as it happens.
Right.
Okay, so
unless you're like a true hardcore fan and you DVR it.
Right, but then everyone hates you because you're like, I DVR'd it, don't tell me what happened yet. And everyone just wants to stab you in the throat.
Hate that person.
But now what has happened is in that time, they were able to get a lot of money. And then the people they were licensing all of their content from, the NFL, the NBA, was driving up the prices.
Right.
So ESPN was sitting on a bunch of incoming cash because they charge like $10 a person to watch
at one point
ESPN.
it was $10 a month.
And then on top of that, they were paying a larger proportion out because they had more supply or more money, and that's good. Now, unfortunately, when you drop off of all your subscribers and you have less money coming in, you still have to pay the same amount to the NFL. You still have to pay the same amount to get that content from whatever people.
Right.
Now you see that last little bit where Facebook's swooping in, where Twitter's kind of tried and is moving on, but YouTube did it, Hulu, all these people, specifically Facebook and YouTube, people who have giant sources of revenue that have nothing to do with television, that have nothing to do with sports, that have everything to do with the reasons ESPN was having trouble holding on to subscribers, not to mention like just, you know, doing e-commerce on other crap.
Right.
They have all this money that now the leagues can still charge the same amount, and ESPN has got to find other content because they're not going to be able to spend as much money on licensing NFL, not to mention all the independent like SEC network and individual folks who are trying to set that stuff up, depending on who owns them.
So I think everything you said is accurate. On top of that, going further with the leagues, I feel like that was the start of the downfall. Or I'm sorry, the deal with the leagues was the start of ESPN's downfall. Because when it came out that, oh, well, they owe X amount of dollars to the NBA and they have the Monday Night Football deal, that's when they started laying off hundreds and hundreds of employees. And that's when we were like, oh, wait a minute, maybe there's something wrong with their model. Now, whether that was poor contracts or just not being up with the times, that there's so many options that were going to come about and they completely misread it, if that falls on John Skipper, if it falls on somebody else, whatever. I think that's part of it. I think there's an oversaturation of content right now where you could go anywhere and get anything instantaneously. And something that you brought up to me was when we were watching SportsCenter back in the day, you had to wait for your highlight to come on. You were attached to the TV in order to wait for a Lakers highlight or a Bulls highlight if you missed the game. Now you could just go on and literally rewatch the game upon its conclusion.
Not to mention the mindless thing happening in the background, right? It used to be, for me, the mindless thing happening in the background was SportsCenter looping. And I would look up and be like, oh my God, it's top plays again. All right, I'll stop. I missed the first three. Let me go back. All right. That's how it was. And now the mindless thing happening in the background is just me on my phone doing this, checking scores. I get notifications when I really do need to do something. And they're all other kinds of things I do with that floating attention that's just kind of hanging around.
Is there something to be said about, I know we discussed this previously, but with the talking heads starting to like get drowned out a little bit by other forms of content?
What do you think about that?
Well, it's like, you know that Skip Bayless is going to have a position with LeBron James that him being the worst player in American sports history. Like you just know that that's a thing, as ridiculous as it is, because people, for whatever reason, still click on it.
I see changes in what they're covering and who they're hiring and how they're covering things.
How so?
They're trying to reach to like a more millennial model, or
well, look at the show they're doing on Snapchat.
Skewing.
Katie Nolan is now doing a show on Snapchat.
Nolan, but like they wanted these younger voices, and they went with like Michael and Jamel. It wasn't like the like people that you had been seeing, like the Kenny Maynes anymore. Right. They wanted to do that, and it was an initiative to get a more diverse crew in there. And I think they're trying to see like, all right, a lot of people are abandoning ship. Who's still here? It does look like their programming decisions have been a result of them freaking out, getting research reports of like key demos, and then trying to cater to them. So you don't
think that they need to alter what they're doing completely with the people that they have to reach a new audience? They need to try and keep the little that they have, not little, but the people that they have right now.
Right. I just read.
Why don't they try to go get a new audience?
Who's that person? And if they have. They're trying to get a new audience. That's why they're on YouTube TV. That's why they're other places.
Fair.
Unfortunately, it's possible they might be cannibalizing their own revenue streams by catering to these new things to try to get a foot in the door.
Right.
And maybe over time they can, as other things kind of fall off, they can do what they did with cable, which is build and build. But like sports audiences are going down generally just because of the politicization of society.
Right.
These random ass things that end up like hurting football.
Right.
Because people want to, there's politics that tears folks apart.
Here's the last thing I'll say. If you are launching a new show and Mike Greenberg is your lead, don't have him say you're a woke show. YouTube.com/TYT Sports.